Hey everybody, Cyrus here, Off-Grid Maker. So this video is, well, I'm doing this video for one of the subscribers, Lola. I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, Lola, Usuri, I'm not sure and I apologize. But she had asked a question in one of my previous videos where I had talked about one of the skills I learned was learning how to start a fire with wet wood, and she had asked, well, how do you do that? Basically, she would like to know that information, and so that is the purpose for this video. So thank you, Lola, for the comment, the question, and the idea for a new video. I appreciate it. So it has been raining here for non-stop basically for the last I would say 12 hours or so. I'm not sure. It started raining last night and basically it hasn't stopped. This is the lightest it's been since it started raining, and it's still raining. It's just a light rain. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to go ahead and build a fire out here with what I find and with my fire starter kit. I have a hold on one second, let me find it. I have a kit that I keep in my everyday carry bag. I call it my fire kit, and it's just an Altoid tin that I've painted and put a little Ranger band on to hold it closed, and I've got you know, some magnesium and a striker and a lighter and some tissue in it. And you know, it's just in case of an emergency. If I need to start a fire, I've always got this on me in my everyday carry bag or purse, whatever. I keep it with me every day when I leave the house. So I'm gonna go off into the woods and I'm gonna find the things I need to start the fire, and I'll kind of briefly explain things as I go and try and, not briefly, I will try and be as detailed as I can. So let's head off into the woods. And what I'm looking for is really small tinder that's as dry as I can find it. And ideally you want to look for things that are up off of the ground, because the things that are up off of the ground are not going to get as wet as the things that are laying on the ground. And so I'll be looking for dead trees that are fallen, that maybe they're not completely touching the ground. Like right over here, there might be something. And I'm also looking for the smallest, driest, deadest twigs that I can find. So right here, there's no branches really on here. I would check the underside of this. I can already tell by looking, but sometimes you check the underside and it's dry, and you can scrape some of the bark off of it, especially if it's like a cedar tree. They have really fibery bark. And I guess I'll set the camera down somewhere and I'll just show you the gear that I'm using to do this. That's probably a good idea. So what I've got with me is, this is my possibles bag. It's just a canvas bag with a long shoulder strap, and this is to put the tinder and the kindling in that I find. I can put it in there and carry it around, because I'm not going to be able to find everything I need just right in one spot. So I've got to be able to find it, gather it, put it in, walk around, find some more, and that way I can keep it with me and I can keep it dry, and I'm not just, you know, trying to carry around a bundle of stuff. I've also got with me my machete, and it also has it's got a hacking blade and a sawing blade. It's got a saw blade on it and a hacking blade on it, so that I can get larger pieces of wood. I'm also carrying with me my bushcraft knife that I made, and this is just a knife that is extremely durable. I made this years ago, and I can baton wood with this, which is, if you're not familiar, I can take a piece of limb that is this big, and I can split it with this knife by hammering with another piece of limb. And if I can't find dry kindling and tinder, if I can't find any, then I'm going to have to make some. And the way you make it is you find a log that you can split, because even though the outside of the log is going to be soaked and wet, a lot of times the inside of the log is either completely dry or dry enough that you can build a fire with it. And so that's my gear. Oh, and plus my fire kit. And I'll just open this up for you. So I've got magnesium and striker. This is just the simple little one that you get at Walmart for like $1.99. There's nothing special about this. And then just a Bic lighter that I keep in there. And then underneath that, I keep a couple pieces of tissue just to help get a fire going. And you can keep fire starter pieces in there. There's whatever you want to keep in there, but that's what I keep. And I have found that it works just fine. So that's the gear that I've got with me. I'm going to go start looking around now and see what I can find. And we'll get this fire going. Okay, so I see a couple of downed trees already. This one over here, I actually know it's been down for a long time. There's probably not going to be anything on it that we can use. Yeah, it's just too old. So when you find a tree like this that's just really old and this bark is really soft, that water just soaks all the way down in there. Everything on this is going to be too wet to use. You can also, if the tree litter is deep enough on the ground, if you can find a place where it has piled up for one reason or another, if you dig down in it, sometimes you can find some dry stuff. Well, the rain is really starting to come down now. So here's a tree downed that it's got some branches and stuff on it that we may be able to use, may be able to find some really small stuff. So you want to start with the smallest stuff. There's some dry bark underneath here, I think. Yep. So that is dry on the underside of this tree. And it's just that kind of spongy stuff. It doesn't burn real well, but it will help us kind of get things going. There's some more, so that's fairly dry. Put all this in the possibles bag. Well, that might work. It's a little bit wet. And see this little branch right here, even though this is not a dead tree, this branch is pretty much dead. And it's got these tiny little twigs on it. The reason you want to find these is because they're real small and they won't burn for very long, but they're easy to get lit. And if you can get a good pile of these, that's helpful. Okay, here's a bunch of little twigs right down here, up off of the ground. So all of this stuff, it's all wet, but like I said, it's thin, so it'll dry out quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the camera for now and gather up some of this stuff, and then I'll bring you back when I find something else of interest. Found another example of something that might work. See how this log is laying here on this downhill slope? So the land slopes up like this. There's this log laying here, and all these leaves have kind of gathered on this uphill side. Sometimes you can dig down in there and find dry leaf material. And you may only find one or two pieces that are dry, but that may be all you need to help get your fire going. They'll light quickly, and they'll burn out quick, but see, I'm finding a few little dry pieces in here. Now, if it has been raining for days, you're not going to find this unless you're in a place with a really heavy canopy, if the trees are really super thick. But you know, I found a few things right here, so I'm going to put that in my possibles bag too and keep looking. I found another great opportunity here. If you look at this old tree down at the bottom, it's got a hollow part. You're always going to find dry stuff in here. There's some dry leaves back in here. Sometimes you'll even find some dry wood, you know, twigs and stuff in there. There's nothing in there like that for me this time, but I'll sure use the leaves. All right, right here I found another downed tree. It's an old cedar tree, and these branches right here are going to be perfect for cutting up and batoning with my knife, getting to the interior where the wood is going to be dry. So I'm going to cut some of those up too. And if you look inside, on a cedar tree especially, this red part of the wood is really good to start fires with. It lights really easy.